What's special about the words in a Dr. Seuss book? Something about how they sound. The rhyming words. So friends, I want you listening for any rhyming words in the story and telling me when you notice them. Sighed Maisie, a lazy bird hatching an egg.
I'm tired and I'm bored and I've kinks in my leg. From sitting to sitting here day after day, it's work, how I hate it. I'd much rather play. I'd take a vacation, fly off for a rest, if I could find someone to stay on my nest. If I could find someone, I'd fly away free.
Then Horton the elephant passed by her tree.
Hello,
Called the lazy bird, smiling her best.
you've nothing to do and I do need a rest. Would you like to sit on this egg on my nest?
The elephant laughed. Why, of all silly things, I haven't feathers and I haven't wings. Me on your egg, why that doesn't make sense. Your egg is so small, ma'am, and I'm so immense.
Tut tut, answered Maisie. I know you're not small, but I'm sure you can do it. No trouble at all. Just sit on it softly. You're gentle and kind. Come, be a good fellow. I know you won't mind.
I can't, said the elephant.
Please, begged the bird. I won't be gone long, sir. I give you my word. I'll hurry right back. Why, I'll never be missed.
Very well, said the elephant. Since you insist, you want a vacation, go fly off and take it. I'll sit on your egg and I'll try not to break it. I'll stay and be faithful. I mean what I say.
Toodaloo,
Sang out Maisie, and she fluttered away. Did we hear any rhyming words? Read that last line again. I'll stay and be faithful, I mean what I say. Toodaloo, sang out Maisie, and she fluttered away. Yeah.
Say it again. I forget.
Yeah, what makes words rhyme? What is that? Can anybody help me? What does that mean when words rhyme? Yeah.
Serpent.
Yeah, they end in the same sound. So let's listen for words that end in the same sound. I'll stay and be faithful, I mean what I say. Toodaloo. Hi, Ruby. So Ruby, we're listening for some rhyming words. Let's see if you can help us. I'll stay and be faithful, I mean what I say. Toodaloo, sang out Maisie, and she fluttered away. Yeah.
Saying a word.
Saying away. Great job. Every page is full of rhyming words. So I want you to listen. The first thing to do, murmured Horton. Let's see. The first thing to do is to prop up this tree and make it much stronger. That has to be done. Before I get on it, I must weigh a ton. Then carefully, tenderly, gently he crept up the trunk to the nest where the little egg slept. Then Horton the elephant smiled. Now that's that. And he sat. And he sat. And he sat. And he sat. And he sat all that day, and he kept the egg warm, and he sat all that night through a terrible storm. It poured, and it lightened, it thundered, it rumbled. This isn't much fun, the poor elephant grumbled. I wish he'd come back, 'cause I'm cold and I'm wet. I hope that Maisie bird doesn't forget. But Maisie by this time was far beyond reach, enjoying the sunshine way off in Palm Beach, and having such fun, such a wonderful rest, decided she'd never go back to her nest. So Horton kept sitting there day after day, and soon it was autumn, the leaves blew away, and then came the winter, the snow and the sleet, and icicles hung from his trunk and his feet. But Horton kept sitting and said with a sneeze, I'll stay on this egg and I won't let it freeze. I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful, 100%. Can we hear any rhyming words on that page? Horton kept sitting and said with a sneeze, I'll stay on this egg and I won't let it freeze. Yeah.
Sneeze and freeze.
Sneeze and freeze. Yeah, what is the sound they both end with? Can you help me? What is the sound they both end with? Sneeze and freeze. Yeah.
Ease.
Ease, yeah. So poor Horton sat there the whole winter through, and then came the springtime with troubles anew. His friends gathered round and they shouted with glee,
look, Horton the elephant's up in a tree. They taunted, they teased him, they yelled, "How absurd! Old Horton the elephant thinks he's a bird."
They laughed and they laughed and they all ran away, and Horton was lonely. He wanted to play, but he sat on the egg and continued to say, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful, 100. No matter what happens, the egg must be tended." But poor Horton's troubles were far, far from ended. For, while Horton sat there so faithful, so kind, 3 hunters came sneaking up, softly behind. He heard the men's footsteps, he turned with a start. 3 rifles were aiming right straight toward his heart. Did he run? He did not. Horton stayed on that nest, he held his head high, and he threw out his chest and looked at the hunters as much as to say, "Shoot if you must, but I won't run away. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful, 100%.
Hey, Matthew, William, come join us for the story.
You got your green beads on. Look at that, friends. Happy St. Patty's Day.
From the coffee center.
But the men didn't shoot. Much to Horton's surprise, they dropped their 3 guns and they stared with wide eyes.
"Look!" they all shouted. "Can such a thing be? An elephant sitting up in a tree! It's strange, it's amazing, it's wonderful, new. Don't shoot him, we'll catch him. That's just what we'll do. Let's take him alive. Why, he's terribly funny. We'll sell him back home to the circus for money."
And the first thing he knew, they had built a big wagon with ropes on the front for the pullers to drag on. They dug up his tree and they put it inside, with Horton so sad that he practically cried.
"We're off!" the men shouted, and off they all went, with Horton unhappy, 100%.
Up out of the jungle, up into the sky, up over the mountains, 10,000 feet high. Then down, down the mountains and down to the sea went the cart with the elephant, egg, nest, and tree. Then out of the wagon and onto a ship, out over the ocean, and oh, what a trip. Rolling and tossing and splashed with the spray. And Horton said day after day after day, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant, but oh, I am seasick, 100%. After bobbing around for 2 weeks like a cork, they landed at last in the town of New York.
"All ashore!"
The men shouted, and down with a lurch went Horton the elephant, still on his perch, tied onto a board that could just scarcely hold him. Bump! Horton landed, and then the men sold him. Sold to a circus, then week after week they showed him to people at 10 cents a peek. They took him to Boston, to Kalamazoo, Chicago, Weehawken, and Washington too, to Dayton, Ohio, St. Paul, Minnesota, to Wichita, Kansas, to Drake, North Dakota. And everywhere thousands of folks flocked to see and laugh at the elephant up in a tree. Poor Horton grew sadder the further he went. But he said as he sat in the hot, noisy tent, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful, 100. Friends, help me. %. Then, one day, the circus show happened to reach a town way down south, not so far from Palm Beach, and dawdling along way up high in the sky, who, of all people, should chance to fly by, but that good-for-nothing bird, runaway Maisie, still on vacation and still just as lazy. And spying the flags and the tents just below, she sang out,
"What fun! Why, I'll go to the show."
and she swooped from the clouds through an open tent door.
"Good gracious!"
Gasped Maisie.
"I've seen you before."
Poor Horton looked up with a face white as chalk. He started to speak, but before he could talk, there rang out the noisiest ear-splitting squeaks from the egg that he'd sat on for 51 weeks. A thumping, a bumping, a wild, alive scratching. Friends, what do you think's happening right now? Yeah. The bird is head. Yeah, what do you think's gonna come out of that egg? Does anybody want to make a prediction? I know most of us are friends.
A flying elephant.
A flying elephant? That's crazy! A flying elephant? Elephants don't fly. A thumping, a bumping, a wild, alive scratching. "My egg," shouted Horton. "My egg, why it's hatching!"
"But it's mine!"
Screamed the bird when she heard the egg crack. The work was all done, now she wanted it back.
"It's my egg!" she sputtered. "You stole it from me! Get off my nest and get out of my tree!"
Poor Horton backed down with a sad, heavy heart.
But at that very instant, the egg burst apart, and out of the pieces of red and white shell from the egg he'd sat on so long and so well, Horton the elephant saw something whiz. It had ears and a tail, and a trunk just like his.
Hey,
And
it's an elephant bird.
It's an elephant bird, you're right. Absolutely. And the people came shouting,
What's this all about?
and they looked and they stared with their eyes popping out. Then they cheered and they cheered and they cheered more and more. They'd never seen anything like it before.
My goodness, my gracious.
They shouted, my word, this is something brand new. It's an
Bird.
elephant bird. That was a great prediction, Liam. It should be like that. Because Horton was faithful, he sat and he sat. He said what he said, and he meant what he said. And they sent him home happy. 100%. Thank you, friends. What do you think some of the other animals are thinking right here?
They're weird.
Yeah, they're weird. Yeah, they do look happy, yeah. How does Horton feel right there?
Happy?
I think he's really happy. How else might he feel, too? His chest's out, his head's held up high. Yeah, Ruby.
He's feeling happy, and the other animals are like an elephant. They're looking at the baby elephant bird.
Yeah.
I bet when they hatched and he felt like that, I bet he was surprised.
I bet he was really surprised. Yeah, Liam.
I think he's in love with his little baby.
I think so too, Liam. Absolutely. That's a baby elephant bird. Do you think maybe he's feeling proud? He sat for 51 weeks
That's a lot.
protecting that egg. That was a long time. Yeah. All right, friends.
Daddy here.
Yeah.
You want to leave
Oh,
something?
you ready to go find your? Oh.
I think he's ready.
All right, friends.